QuickBooks Online 2025. Save customization, which you could also call memorizing reports. Get ready and some coffee because we're learning how to save time with QuickBooks Online 2025. Here we are online in our browser searching for that QuickBooks Online test drive, the free sample company file available to everybody, looking for the result that has Intuit.com in the URL because Intuit is the owner of QuickBooks. We're going to be choosing the United States version of the software. We're going to be verifying that we are not a robot. And so, they're getting technical on it now. They got to have to prove it. I'm going to have to prove that I'm not a robot. All right. That's okay. I can do this. I know that I've passed this test before. I've done this before. I've got the cheat sheets. All right. And then we're going to close that prior tab. And now we're going to be in our sample company file for Craig's Design Landscaping Services, opening the major financial statement reports as done every time. Let's go to the reports on the left-hand side. We're in the standard favorites. Let's right-click on that balance sheet to open a link in a new tab. Right-click on the P&L to open a link in a new tab. We'll tab to that middle tab to then format our report. Let's close the hamburger, getting that thing off the plate to give us some more room. We're going from 010124 tab 123124. Need some room for some ketchup on the plate, and you can't do it if the hamburger bun's there. I like to dip the hamburger in the ketchup, okay? I don't like, because then the ketchup gets all warm otherwise if you put it in the ham. I like it cold. I want cold ketchup that you dip it. Anyway, let's put this in years and then run it to refresh it. 2024, 2025, and then we'll tab to the right. We'll close up the hamburger, change the range once again, 010124 tab 123125 tab, selecting the drop down to see it in years, run it to refresh it. All right, this time we're going to be looking at the saving of the customization. Before we get there, let's open up a new report. These two are going to be basically our default reports, and then we'll think about the customization process and how we might use the save customization reports to make things easier, make things faster. Let's go to that first tab. Let's open, for example, another balance sheet, right-clicking on the balance sheet to open a link in a new tab. We have that on the tab to the right. Now let's imagine that we want to make some changes to our financial statement in a similar way as we have done in the past, using our options up top, possibly to make customized comparative reports, horizontal analysis, vertical analysis, and so on. We might want to, once done, save that customization to make it as easy as possible to go back to, which you might do for, say, internal reports. For example, maybe you want some customizations whenever you're using the report to make comparisons as you're doing the data input versus external reports, reports that you might be giving and wanting to batch in a different format for external purposes, say as a bookkeeper giving it to a client. And then you might want to further break down between those reports that you batch together, possibly on a monthly basis versus a quarterly basis versus a yearly basis, because there might be some different reports as time passes, as we have more capacity to do comparisons and as needs change, particularly when we get towards the end of the year, because that's when the client needs the most information for tax preparation if you're in the United States, and possibly payroll and all the other stuff. So let's close up the ham boogie. So for example, for internal use purposes, I might still like to have, say the pennies in there, but maybe I don't. Maybe I want to say it's cleaner for me to look at the reports if, say, maybe I remove the pennies and I like to look at the negative numbers as bracketed and red. It's just a little bit easier for me to view in that way. So let's change the time frame just for 2025 this time, 010125 to 123125. They're starting to populate the information for 25. Let's run it. And let's say we're going to make an internal customization, remembering that we could do this by switching to the modern mode, but I'm going to stay here in the classic mode for now. Customize, which is going to be here. And we will look at, let's remove the pennies and say I like to see the negative numbers to be bracketed and then red. Maybe that's my internal report preference. And then we have the filters, looks good, and the headers and footers. So maybe on the headers and footers, I don't need to see the date prepared, time prepared, and report basis. So let's run that. And now this might be my standard that I like to see for internal reporting. There's my negative numbers. It's just a little bit easier for me to see, possibly. And so then we can save those customizations. Now I can make a group here. I make the group with this second button. So I can add the groups as we go. I'm going to say this is going to be internal. So I'll make it an internal report. I might name it myself. If I have multiple users, I might say this is going to be the report by user, giving me my personal name on it, so I can look at my customization reports versus other people that might have customized reports different based on what they personally want, because we're using the same system. And then we could share the reports if we wanted to down here. I'm not going to get into that now. I'm going to say add. So now we have one group. We put it into this internal report. I'm going to call it balance sheet for internal use or something like that. Internal, and then save it. So now I'm going to go back to the first tab and check out what happened. Que pasó aquí ahora? We're going to go then to the reports on the left-hand side. Instead of going to the favorites tab, or the standard tab, we go to the customize reports tab, and under the drop-down, we have created the customization here for the internal reports. And if I want to open it up, this might be my default go-to, because then I can open it from here. And now I can just change the date range, and it's already formatted for me. So that is great. That's going to be the idea. So now that we have that general concept, just a quick note that you might then try to make a drop down of these categories for more types of reports that maybe they're not just internal reports, but external reports that you might break out by month, for example. Now, it's a little bit wonky in QuickBooks to kind of manage these reports internally, because you see we put this group in there and we made this group as we created the reports. Now, you would think you'd be able to go in here somewhere and possibly manage these groups. But if I go into the edit field, right, I can change the name of the group here and so on, but there's not a whole lot else I can do once in this group, right? So what I can do is manage the groups as I make the actual reports. Adding new groups basically at that point in time seems to me to be one of the more easy way to do things. Now, also within the group, it's going to be ordered possibly, say, in alphabetical order. I might want to put some other kind of ordering system once I'm within a group, possibly in the same kind of batching system that I would have when giving these reports to a client. So for example, if I just look at the balance sheet reports, maybe I want to start with a summarized balance sheet, and then maybe I do a vertical analysis balance sheet, then maybe I do a horizontal analysis balance sheet, for example, and I want to have the summary balance sheet first. Well, maybe I can number the reports to make that a little bit easier. So let's get an idea of that. Let's go back to the standard tab. Let's open up a new balance sheet. I'm going to right click and open a new balance sheet over here. And actually, let's first start with a summary balance sheet. I'm going to close that back out. Hold on a second. Let's go back on over here. Let's start with a summary balance sheet, which is down here, balance sheet summary. Right click on that and open a link in a new tab. So this is the easy one on the eyes, has less going on with it. Let's change the date range to 2025 01/01/25 to 12/31/25. Going to close up the ham boogie. And then we'll do just our normal adjustments to it, which I'm going to say customize the report. I'm going to get rid of the pennies to make it easier on the eyes, make the negative numbers bracketed and red on the header and footer side of things. I don't want the date prepared, time prepared, or the report basis. Let's go ahead and run that. So now we have it a little bit more simplified. Not a whole lot that we did there. We might want to remove. Well, we'll keep that there for now. So there we have it. Let's go ahead and customize it. I'm going to save the customization now that we have customized it, add a new group, and let's call these month end reports. So I'm going to say this is my normal batching process to batch the reports together that I will then provide to the clients on a monthly basis, possibly with my monthly billing cycle or something like that. I'm going to add this. So there we have it. So now it's in our month-end reports. Now, instead of just calling it a balance sheet summary, I'm going to name it 1 and then balance sheet summary, because that number 1 will then group it as the first report in the names of my reports as they are grouped in my customized report section. So let's go ahead and save that. So now I can go back into my first tab, go to the customized reports. I'm going to refresh it with the little refresh button up top. And let's see, que paso, what happens? There's the month-end report. So now I've got this report in there for the month-end reports. Now note, as I number these, it might be a little bit easier if I'm going to provide these reports to a client. We want to make it as clean as possible. So therefore, I could give it to my clients by simply emailing one by one, or by printing them as a PDF file, saving them as a PDF file, and attaching like 5 PDF files to an email or something, or share them on a cloud drive in that way. But it would possibly be better for me to put all of the files into one folder, which I can then provide to a client as a zipped file, one attachment, or on a cloud-based drive or something like that, so that they're all in one folder. That would be a little bit cleaner. And later we'll talk about possibly using the management reports to put them all into one document, which I can email or put on a cloud drive. Or we can export them possibly using Excel and Word to have more customization. So either way we do it, it might be nice for me to number these reports, have them already formatted to the extent that they can be, so that the month-end grouping of the reports is as easy, seamless, and uniformly done as possible. All right, so let's open up another one then. Let's go to the first tab over here. Let's just open another balance sheet. And let's say now we're going to just do the standard balance sheet. But since I already have a summary balance sheet, let's make this our vertical analysis balance sheet, so it adds a little bit more detail, including the added accounts, but also a vertical analysis. And we'll save that one as part of our month-end report. So date range 01/01/25 to 12/31/25. We're then going to say that we want it on the drop. We want it to have the period. We want a vertical analysis, percent of the column, boom. And so that's going to give us our vertical analysis. We saw that in prior presentations. So now I'd like to possibly change the name to be like a vertical analysis balance sheet or something like that. So let's go into the customization and let's remove the pennies. Let's make the negative numbers bracketed and red, as has been our custom on the headers and footers. We want to call it not just any balance sheet, a vertical balance sheet. Let's say balance sheet and then vertical analysis. Balance sheet, vertical analysis. Man, I don't think you can take on a 5-year-old with a spelling bee. Okay, spelling is not important, all right? Don't be challenging me to a spelling bee. I'll use ChatGTP for the spelling bee, and then because I don't need to spell right. So then we're gonna say this, let's get rid of the date prepared, time prepared, report basis, and then run it to refresh it. So there we have it. We've changed the name. We've got rid of the decimals, negative numbers bracketed, vertical analysis percentages. Let's save the customization. This is going to be report number 2 in our group, which we've already added, month-end reports, por favor. We're going to then say this is number 2, so it shows up as the second of the 2 reports, so I can print them in order at the end of each month, making the system as similar as possible. Let's go ahead and save that bad doggy. Let's go to the first tab and go into the customized reports, refresh the screen, and see if it shows up the way we would expect it to be. There it is, number 1, number 2. So now whenever the month end happens, I can just open these 2 up and then basically in order, change the dates, and then batch my reports together in a way that looks good and is easy to do. Let's do one more. Let's do a horizontal analysis on the balance sheet. Right-click it on the balance sheet. Again, open a link in a new tab. And we've seen the horizontal analysis before. Let's do a quick remake. 010125 to 123125. Closing the ham boogie. And then we're going to say, I want to see this on maybe a year by year. So compared to the previous year, possibly. I would like to see the dollar change, the percentage change, and then run it to refresh it. And then I want to change the name to be a horizontal analysis, get rid of make negative numbers and so on. So let's customize this thing. Let's make it negative numbers bracketed, get the pennies out of here, make it red on the drop down for the header and footer balance sheet. And we're going to make it horizontal analysis. Look at that. Oh, I didn't spell it quite right, but I got one out of the two words, 50%. Correct on the spelling bee that time without even using the spell check. I'm getting better. Mejorando over here, a key. We're going to say run it, dang it. Run it, dang it. So now we've got the prior period, the current period, the change, percent change, balance sheet, horizontal analysis. Let's go ahead and see how we can save that customization. We customized it. I don't want to lose it. I don't want to lose the customization. We're going to save that customization because that was customized well. You know, I'm getting good at customizing stuff. I'm a customizer. I'm going to say save that customization. People are going to want to see that. People are going to want to see it. You got to preserve that. Let's go to the first tab over here and then go to the custom reports, refresh it. And so now we have our information for the month end reports in order so we can generate them, change the date, produce them quickly as possible, or possibly put them into a management report as quickly as possible, or possibly print them and attach them to an email, or put them into a report that we generate using an export to Excel and possibly integrating that with Word for the maximum customization. So that's the general idea with that. We'll talk more about the management reports and possibly putting that into our system, customizing the reports, and then integrating them into the management reports. And then we'll also talk later about exporting and whatnot to Excel, which gives you further customization, although more labor-intensive situation at the same time.